Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another rambunctious episode of the Single Parents Podcast. This is the podcast for anybody whose life may have turned out just a little less than traditional. Thank you for joining us, whether you've been with us on this journey for a while or you're a brand new listener. We're glad to have all of you beautiful, hot SPs out there. We mentioned on the show last week in our first new episode back in the year 2024 that this is officially our hot era of the podcast. So all of that hotness, all of that big baddie energy that you're hopefully feeling through the screen, through your earbuds, that's largely in part of you being a part of the show. So thank you so much. Stick around. We hope you enjoy it. And then after the episode, if you feel so inclined to do so, share the podcast with a friend, with a family member, with somebody brand new that you're going to meet in this new year that you probably haven't even come across yet. But you're going to meet them eventually. Could be in June, could be in September. Who knows? But keep this podcast in mind and share it with them. And then if you like the show at the end of it, then just do us a favor, do us a solid, rate us 5 stars, the highest rating on your favorite podcast hosting platform, so that way we can get this show out to more people, build this community so we can keep raising awareness on just how hot single parents are out there. And then for yourself, last but not least, just make sure you're subscribed to the show, turn on automatic downloads so you never miss an episode in the future.
Something to relate to.
So yeah, last week on the show, we kind of did a little breakdown, right? We kind of set some vision for what the show's going to be heading into this new year. We dubbed it the hot era. We declared ourselves triumphant in the fact that we're not going to be downers about being single parents anymore. We're not going to be doom and gloom about our realities anymore. We're going to acknowledge the hardships. We're going to talk about the realities. We're not going to sit around here pretending like everything's always cupcakes and rainbows when it comes to the SP life. Trust me, I get it. I know there's highs and there's lows. That's for damn sure. But we gotta remember that we're out here and we're doing this thing right and we're doing this thing well, and we can hold our heads high because of that. So that's kind of the vision for the hot era on the show for 2024. So yeah, that was kind of the gist of the whole show last week. So I didn't really get into much about like what's been going on with me, what's kind of been up in my world lately, because we were just having a little family talk last week. So if you missed that episode, go back and check it out for sure. But for myself, we can kind of get into it a little bit. So I'm actually recording this episode on New Year's Eve. Because in a few hours, I get my girls back from their mom's house. And so I'm going to have them for this next upcoming week. And I don't know if you know this about podcasts, but they're audio mediums for the most part. So you really got to make sure that the noise is controllable and the sound is good. And, there's not a whole lot of background activity going on. And believe it or not, trying to accomplish that with 2 little girls running around screaming and asking for a million things, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do. So when it comes to me recording these shows, I gotta sometimes do it a little early compared to when I actually release them, just so I can make sure everything is crisp and clean and you can hear me okay without the chaos, without sound like a nuclear bomb's going off in the background. Because trust me, if my girls were here right now, that's exactly what it would sound like. So I'm recording this episode on New Year's Eve. So I know when it actually comes out. If you're listening to it right when it actually comes out, we're about a couple of weeks into the month. We're a couple of weeks into the 2024 year. So I'm just gonna say that I hope it's going well for you all. I hope the future is legit already. I hope 2024 has already started off with a bang. I hope I'm not jinxing anything by speaking on it so soon. But yeah, I'm just getting ready for the new year myself and kind of contemplating a lot about what 2023 looked like for me, what it looked like for my kids, and I'll kind of talk about that more at the end of the show. But the end of 2023 was actually pretty good. It was a pretty good last month. I know we took a break from putting out episodes in December, so we haven't really caught up in a hot minute. I think the last time I talked to you guys, I had just gotten my new car after all the shenanigans from that kind of went down following Halloween. You can go listen to that episode. I don't remember what episode it is, but I talked about it because that was a lot. But December was just kind of a nice month to kind of be with my kids, to kind of prep for the holidays and Christmas parties at school, and then getting ready for New Year's and traveling and family. And there's just a lot that I just needed to kind of take a step back and just make sure get handled correctly before heading into January. So that's what I did. But that still doesn't mean I didn't go out and have some fun throughout the last month and a half or so. Because I actually, one funny thing that happened at the end of 2023 is I'm still, on the dating apps, on the Tinder, on all those things. And those apps, okay, I think I'm not surprising anybody when I say this. I think anybody who uses them already knows that this is the reality. But yeah, those apps, they suck. Yeah, they're trash. They are rough sometimes. But every now and again, it's like pulling the little lever on the slot machine. Every now and again, you kind of get a match. You hit the 777s on the slot machine, and you hear the coins fall down and go, and the lights start to flash, and you find somebody and you start talking to them, and then you talk to them, and you're waiting for the inevitable where like you do the first couple of messages thing on like Tinder or whatever, and then you ask them a question, and then radio silence. They just full on just don't respond, and you're like, well, okay, I guess that's the end of that. All right, I wouldn't even call that like ghosting. That's not really ghosting because the relationship never really went anywhere. It's just kind of ends, I guess. And so you got to at least get through that base too. But I matched with somebody who seemed pretty cool, pretty legit, who responded to my messages, who actually, we moved from the messaging for a few days on Tinder thing, and we kind of took the step into texting. So she passed along her number to me. We were texting. We were kind of seeing what was up because I'm a single dad and she's a single mom, and that whole thing. We talked about the realities and the dynamics when it comes to dating while also being an SP, but it just so turned out that her schedule with her kid is the same exact schedule as me with when it comes to having my girls and co-parenting, stuff like that. So like the week that her son goes to his dad's house is the same week that my girls go to their mom's house. And so that kind of worked out because then, like, if things did kind of progress in a certain direction, the weeks that our kids were over at their other parents' house could be weeks where we could get to know each other, maybe go on dates and talk and whatever. But then there's no pressure. The weeks when our kids are home and we need to be more focused and present on our kids, there's no like pressure from the other person wondering why you're not texting back so fast or whatever. So you get it. So anyways, that's kind of what happened with this young lady. We're going to call her Ramona Flowers. If you ever seen the movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World or read the comic or the new TV show on Netflix, you know exactly who that person is. If not, just Google it. But I call her Ramona Flowers because she had like very blue, vibrant hair, right? Which I was kind of cool. I kind of dug it because blue's my favorite color. I like things that are a little out of the box, out of the ordinary, and I like unique stuff like that. And so started talking to Ramona, started texting. We made some plans to go hang out, and we hung out, had our first date or whatever, but it was mostly just us sitting, talking about all the craziness that's our lives and what have you. And it went good. It went well. It was good enough to warrant a second date. We ended up going to the movies. We had a good time there. And then I guess technically that warranted like another date. But this date was just us hanging out in my house, watching some movies and stuff like that, drinking soda. And it was cool. It was cool. Yeah. I thought things were solid. I thought things were legit. Like, again, I wasn't ready to go down and purchase a wedding ring and propose or anything like that. I wasn't ready to change the Facebook status from single to in a relationship or anything like that. But I was like, okay, cool. This is somebody at least I think I can vibe with, I can hang out with, I can get to know. So after that third date, after the movies and soda at my house, hanging out and stuff like that, things kind of went quiet with old Ramona. So I would text her like, hey, like, I hope things are going well. Hope your week's going good. So we had that movie and soda date. I guess that was like on a Saturday night, I think. And then both of us get our kids Sunday evening. So we had our kids following that date pretty much right after. So like I said, we both have our kids. We're busy with all that. So cool, understandable. But I would still text her, just be like, hey, like, I hope things are going well. How's your week? And wasn't expecting immediate responses or even a lot of responses, but just at least checking in, letting her know I was thinking about her. And I really wouldn't hear very much, but in my head, I'm like, okay, she's hanging out with her son, and it's cool. Eventually, she did tell me that I think her son had been sick, and she had been feeling sick, and so we really didn't text or talk really that whole week following that third date. But for understandable reasons, it was cool. But then the next week came along, and that week was the week that neither of us had our kids. And I hadn't really spoken to her in like a week, so I was just assuming that her son went over to his dad's house because my girls had went to their mom's house. And so I was like, okay, well, hopefully she's feeling good enough. Maybe we can go hang out again. Maybe we can plan something. So I would just text her here and there, like, hey, how's your week? Or hey, thinking about you today. And it was pretty much like silence, like nothing. And I was just like, oh, okay. So I don't want to assume, because I hate assuming things, because assuming things is pretty stupid a lot of the times, unless you have like really good evidence, I guess. Like you have to make assumptions sometimes, but for the most part, you just never know what people are going through and kind of what they're working through, or maybe she was sick, or maybe she did end up having her son for another week. I was just like, you know what? She seemed cool. Didn't know her a whole lot. Didn't know her super well, but she seemed cool. So let me just give her the benefit of the doubt and let me just kind of just chill. And I'm sure if she wants to talk again, we'll talk again. Still really didn't hear anything for I think another week. The whole week. Yeah, because I remember the weekend went by and I was like, well, maybe we can do something over the weekend. Maybe go see another movie or whatever. And nothing. Didn't really hear anything. So at that point, I was like, well, I'm getting ready to get my girls back again. Christmas is coming up. My brain has to start thinking about other stuff. I can't really worry about old Ramona Flowers right now. So I'm just going to kind of shift my thinking to some other stuff. So that's kind of what I did. Got my girls back, normal week, getting ready for Christmas, getting ready for the holiday break. And I was working one day, typing away on my computer, and I get a text. It was probably like 9 or 10 in the morning randomly. And it was from old Ramona. And when you first get a text message and you just kind of see it on the front screen of your phone or the home screen of your phone or the lock screen. There you go. I finally got there. The lock screen of your phone. And you can kind of just see like the beginning of the message. And then it kind of has ... And you have to open the message itself to read the whole context. So I kind of opened my lock screen, see the beginning of the message, basically said, hey, I'm so sorry. I was so busy getting ready for Christmas, blah, blah, blah. And so I just read that part. And I was like, okay, well, she's apologizing. Maybe I can't assume what's going on in her life. So maybe she really was busy with Christmas. I'll open the message thinking that it's just going to say like, sorry, I was busy and didn't talk too much. Like maybe we can get together after the holidays, whatever. So I was like preparing for my response. Like, did I want to? Did I not? Am I kind of over it? As I was opening the message, actually open the message. And basically, like, long story short, she had started out by saying, hey, sorry, got distracted with some stuff from Christmas. And then she went into this whole thing where I guess she like reconnected with somebody from her past. And she did the whole thing like, you're a really great guy. I'm glad to know you. My life is better for having met you. I would love to stay friends and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh, okay. Was not expecting that. This is why you don't make assumptions, because you just don't know how stuff's going to go a lot of the times. But I was just like, well, that's kind of weird, kind of a bummer. I guess, after a couple of weeks, maybe you just start talking to somebody else. I mean, I was bummed, like anybody you vibe with, kind of like hanging out with, you're going to kind of feel a certain type of way getting a message like that. But again, in perspective, we had only like hung out a few times, only had been talking for like a week. So at the end of the day, it's not like we were boyfriend, girlfriend, getting engaged, anything like that. So I was just kind of like, you know what? I think all I replied with was, well, I thank you for letting me know. I hope things work out with you and this guy, whatever. So kind of just let that be. Didn't really reply to her after she said something else, responding to what I messaged her. Didn't really, think about it much because, again, Christmas was coming up and I was just kind of focusing on that. But later that week, I think it was like the day before Christmas Eve or something like that, I got a message from one of my friends because in the town that I live in, it's pretty smallish town, small town vibes, right? Like it's not like a one gas station town or anything like that, but it's small enough to where if you're in the dating scene, stuff's going to start crossing over and you're going to start dating people that this person was dating, and this person knows what this person's really like because they dated them last year. And so it's just, small town, big small town energy right there because of that stuff when it comes to dating. So I guess I didn't know this because I think it's only for women in our town, but there's this Facebook group page called Are We Dating the Same Guy? Or something like that. I don't know. But basically, I guess women in our town get on this page, and if they're talking to somebody like in the talking stage or having gone on dates with them or you match with them on Tinder or something like that, I guess they'll go to this page and they'll put the guy's picture and his name and basically be like, hey, this guy slid into my DMs, or I went on a couple of dates with this guy. Anybody know if he's shady or if he's a walking red flag, or heck, sometimes in our town, if he's married, if he's dating somebody else? Like, I think they just kind of put it out there just to get the tea, right? Like, what a little weird, but I guess like I kind of get it. So anyways, I got a message from my friend who's on that page, and she shares a screenshot with me, and it's a picture of my face with a big long message on there from Ramona Flowers. And basically the message said, hey ladies, like over the last few months, I've been talking to a few different guys going on different dates. I just kind of wanted to put out 4 of the guys who I went on dates with, who I just kind of want to boast about a little bit. I kind of want to give them their flowers because I'm focusing on somebody else full time right now. But I did have a good time with these guys, and I just kind of want to throw their names out there because they were good dudes. And so like in a collage pic with like 4 other guys, there's my face right there. And hey, actually, I'll just read you. I think I still have the message. I'll read you exactly what she said about me and her time with me. Okay, I found it. So here's what she said on that post. She said, Anthony, he's an adorable, nerdy girl dad. He's not looking to play games, but he's willing to take his time for the right person and to make sure that they're a good fit. He's busy with his girls every other week, but if you like trashy reality TV, anime, and I think she meant to say are passionate but respectful, he's your dude. So at first I got that message from my friend, and I read that, and I was just like, wait, what? I had no idea she was talking to a few other dudes at the same time. Like, she didn't mention that. But I guess, again, in context, we had only gone on a few dates. Like, we weren't official, or we weren't what's the word? We weren't exclusive or anything. Like, we weren't even close to that. So like, who cares? Whatever. But I was just kind of taken back that I had a little review basically written up about me. But so at first I was kind of weirded out, but then I kind of read it and read exactly what she said. And I was like, you know what? Like, I am glad that after our time together, that's what she had to say about me. Because number one, we had only hung out a few times. I'll keep reiterating that. So she didn't like know my soul and know my whole story and know me as a deep, intimate person. Like, she knew that I like trashy reality TV. I like The Bachelor and stuff like that. And anime's cool. And obviously I'm big into caring for my girls. That's a big part of my life. So she knew the appropriate amount of stuff you should know after 3 short dates with somebody. So that's fine. But ultimately, I think I was happy to know that her time with me just was so positive, right? Like, she had some nice things to say about me. Because again, I think that whole point of that little site is to be honest about these men. And like, if I was a piece of crap, or as I was a jerk and all this stuff, like, I'm sure she would have said that. Because then my friend went on to say, like, hey, like, some of those other guys that she mentioned in that post, some other women on there had some not nice things and not nice experiences with some of those other guys. And so they shared their thoughts, but she's like, everybody who knew you were like, oh yeah, Anthony, he's cool, he's great. And so that made me feel pretty good. But anyways, yeah. So that's what's been up with me last few months when it comes to dating. Is how I still ended the year single, still ended the year at a hot SP, which is good because that's the whole point of the show. So I guess though I just wanted to share a little bit about the last chapter of my love life from the 2023 year.
Something to think about.
So I wanted to bring this up and kind of see what you all think about this statement. Because I know this one, what I'm about to share, is going to be a statement that could be very divisive as far as how one might respond to a statement like this. So this is why we have stuff like our email, the singleparentspodcast@gmail.com, which you can share your thoughts, your opinions, your stories, your perspectives, all of that. We're a community of hot SPs here, so definitely use that to get your voice heard. Social media, DM me whenever you want. Well, definitely want to know your opinions on this, but I was just scrolling around. You know what this show kind of makes me realize is that I spend a lot of time on social media because I feel like every little segment I do starts out with, I was online or I was on an app or I was on social media and I saw this. Oops, sorry. But anyways, I was on one of the social media apps and was scrolling through some of my friends' stories, and I came across one from one of my friends who is a fellow single parent, and they had this on their story that I just wanted to bring up. Something, again, segments called Something to Think About, so something to think about, and maybe you do have an opinion on this. Says this: single parents, your kid should not be meeting every person you date. Your kid should not be meeting every person you date, according to, it doesn't say who originated that post. It was just shared, whoever made that post, according to them, your kid should not be meeting every person you date. So like I said, I know there's going to be a lot of different opinions and perspectives on this. So I guess all I can really do is share my kind of viewpoint on this, and just more like, actually, it's more like a decision I made for myself early on when it comes to this conversation. I think I made this not rule, but I just made this choice for myself a long time ago, years ago. But for me, my kind of stance on this for myself, for my context, for me and my kids and my relationship with my kids, and I'll go more into some detail in a second. But my stance is like, I'm just not going to bring somebody I'm seeing or dating around my girls unless I know for sure that this is somebody who's going to be sticking around for the long haul. This is somebody who is I really do see like a real legit long-term future with, and we need to progress to the next step, which means them that person meeting my children and interacting with them and seeing, like, because there's a lot of stuff you learn about people when that whole reality comes into play. So I get that. But if I don't really feel like we're at that place or even really heading in that direction, I'm just not going to do it, to be super honest. And so this also just means, number one, like, I know that even if I did find somebody who I did want to bring around the girls, there's no 100% guarantee that that means we're going to be together till we're old and die and get married. And, that is a guarantee, like, okay, this is it. So I know stuff comes up, stuff happens, stuff changes. But I'm just saying, like, I really got to at least truly believe, like, together, me and her, we just really got to truly think like, nah, this is it, we're good. That doesn't mean like that person can't ever like be around me if my kids are with me and it is my time with my kids, my week with my kids, whatever. So say, for example, if we have mutual friends and we're both going to be at like a birthday party or something together, or we run into each other at the park or something like that, like, I'm not going to be like, no, stay away, I have my kids this week, like, no, not the time, like, no, I'm just going to pretend like I don't know you type situation. Like, no, that's cool, because, my kids see me hanging out with friends. They know I have friends of the opposite sex who I talk to and chill with. And so, like, that, I'm not that extreme, that crazy about it. Or I'm not like, we can't text, we can't call each other when I have my kids because they just need to not know anything about the people I'm talking to. Like, I ain't about all that. I'm just saying, like, I'm not going to meet somebody Like, for example, from the first segment, Ramona Flowers, right? We had been on 3 dates, like the movies, hanging out and talking, and then watching a TV show and drinking soda. So after 3 dates, that was like over a course of a week. I didn't feel the need to be like, okay, cool. So after those three, couple of hour dates, let's plan a time where you can come over and you can meet my kids and I can introduce you as my girlfriend and we can talk about moving in and we can do this and we can do that. And like, no. Like, I didn't feel even close the need to be doing that. And that was completely fine. And I think it just kind of helps me keep things in perspective to make sure slowing down, having boundaries, having standards, all that sort of stuff. So that's just it for me. Ultimately, though, to be super honest, because I made that decision for myself because I know my kids and I kind of know how they feel about the whole conversation and the whole topic of me dating, because they vocalize their opinion on it many, many times. And that opinion is they're just not a big fan, honestly, about the idea of their dad dating and being with a woman. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that because I made that decision for myself a long time ago, this was years ago when they were like still too young to even know what dating is or whatever. They would have even known the difference. Because I made that decision for myself a long time ago, and I've always stuck to that decision over the years. They have yet, I'm going to think before I say this. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have yet to see me in a dating relationship like that before, because I guess I just haven't met somebody who ever got to that level. Again, they've been around people who I've been talking to because maybe they were a mutual friend before and then we started talking, and so they already knew the person or social settings or whatever. So like they've been around, but they've never had a situation where they came back from their mom's house and I had a woman there and I was like, hey girls, I would like you to meet Cynthia because she is the new love of my life. They've never had that. And so when they say now things like dad, like, no, you can't date, that's weird or whatever, I think they're coming from a place that they just haven't ever seen their dad in that type of context before. And so that's also a way I want to use a lot of wisdom and go slow about introducing somebody to the girls in that way, because when that time arises, I do know it's going to come with a lot of change for them. We're going to have a lot of conversations. It is going to take some time. There are going to be probably weirded out for a while. And I completely understand that. And I completely get that. So I definitely take their emotions and I take their feelings and I take their thoughts and I take their lives, because they're living in my house. This is their lives too. I take that all into consideration. And versus like, this is just for me, like versus being the type of dad who always has a new girlfriend every other week. So the girls come back from their mom's house, and this week, dad was dating Cynthia. Next week, he's dating Susie. The other week, he's dating Monica, and all these different things. And it's just always a roller coaster, and all these women coming in and out of their lives and trying to, build relationship with them. And maybe they get really close with Monica's because they liked when dad was dating Monica, but dad's not with Monica anymore. Now he's with Samantha. And so like that relationship that we built with Monica is now gone. And we did like her and we got close with her, but now there's this other woman who's different, and it's just something crazy every single, like for myself, I'll just speak for myself. I just chose not to introduce scenarios like that into my home with my kids, just because I know relationally, especially at the age that they're at, 7 and 8, they are getting to stages in their life when they are just really developing, and those relational connections that they're making, especially with other adults, are so important. And so I just need to make sure that I'm being very careful and cautious and empathetic about the serious relationships I'm introducing and bringing into their lives for the sake of their own self. Now, I think that the extreme of the other side of that is, and I've been guilty of this before, of like being so quick to shut doors and not put myself out there and not give things chances or not to give somebody a chance just for the sake of, well, I like you and I see this going in a certain way, or maybe I should put myself out there and introduce myself to that person. But no, I can't because I have to think about my kids, and, I don't want to upset them by me dating and all these things. Because we talked about this on last week's episode. Remember, our whole identity, our whole sense of self is not being a single mom or single dad. That's a part of who we are, but that doesn't 100% define who we are. We are other things too. And part of being other things as individuals, as complex individuals, sometimes means being a boyfriend or a girlfriend to somebody else. And so I have to remember that even though I'm being very respectful and understanding of my kids and their feelings and emotions when it comes to this, that also doesn't mean I have to be so quick to shut every single door or reject any person who may want to come into my life and be with me in that type of way. So it's definitely a weird balance, right? Like, it's definitely interesting. And I think that's why, like, even after all these years, I haven't gotten to that point. It's just because I am just so mindful about that whole situation when it comes to that. And I know that for a lot of women, and this is understandable because we talked about the fact that everybody has their preferences before on the show. And so for some women, their preference just isn't to kind of navigate those waters, right? And to take things that slow and to go on the journey that it would require for me to get to a place where I'm bringing you around my kids and introducing you as my girlfriend to my kids. Like, that was going to take time and a lot of conversations and a lot of intentionality. But so I understand if somebody's like, you know what, Anthony, I like you, but I just don't think I am willing or at a place in my own journey to embark on that with you. Totally fine, totally cool. I understand that. And then vice versa too, right? Like, if I'm talking to somebody and they have kids and they're like, hey, like, I like you, Anthony, like hanging out with you, and I get like you don't have your kids right now, but I do have my kids. Like, I was talking to somebody who has their kids full time, right? So like they're not like in a co-parenting situation like I am, where we do the week on, week off thing. They are with their kids 24/7. So they're like, yeah, you get time where your girls are off at their mom's house, but I'm with my kids all the time. And so like, even though this might be a good time for you and you might want to hang out, like I'm same boat as you. Like, I'm going to be cautious about that. And that is going to be a little trickier because I don't have weeks off from my kids. I use air quotes if you're listening to the audio version of this. I don't have weeks off for my kids. My kids are with me all the time. So when are we going to hang out? When are we going to have time to build our relationship to where I'm comfortable having you around my kids? I don't know. Like, I don't know. And so anyways, what are your thoughts on that whole thing? I know some people are going to be the opposite. Some people are going to be like, yeah, no, like, I've had a few boyfriends or a few girlfriends in and out, and my kids have been around them all because I need help and I need, like, I don't know, maybe you just have a different perspective on the whole thing. I just wanted to share my truth when it comes to that, my perspective when it comes to that. And maybe a lot of you can relate to that, what I just said, and kind of how I approach that whole thing. Or maybe some of you completely disagree. Regardless, definitely want to hear from you, want this community's voice to grow and to expand. So once again, do all the things. Reach out to us, thesingleparentspodcast@gmail.com. That's thesingleparentspodcast@gmail.com.
Something to be encouraged by.
So as we get ready to wrap up the show for this week, I just want to kind of hopefully leave you with something encouraging to take away, because this has really been encouraging for me. Because as I mentioned, I'm recording this episode on New Year's Eve itself. So I'm literally hours away from stepping into a brand new calendar year. For you who listening to this when it comes out, you're about like a week or so into that new calendar year, but still fresh into a new year, 2024. So sometimes when we step into a new year, it can be a little intimidating, right? Because perhaps we look back at the old year, the past year, or the past couple of years, we just get hit with the feelings of exhaustion, fatigue, or pain, or heartbreak, or loneliness, or the sense of barely making it through the last year or so. Like, maybe you got through, you're in 2024, but maybe you barely got through just by the skin of your teeth because it just hasn't been so easy. Maybe that's kind of where you're kind of thinking as you look forward to this new year. You're just like, you know what, like I'm anxious. I think about the next 12 months and a lot of anxiety hits or just a lot of depression starts to fall over me because the last year or the last couple of years have been so hard, so draining, so lonely, so exhausting that the fact that I got to think about going through all of this again just kind of wears me out. I get that, and I definitely, even today, as I'm getting ready to celebrate New Year's Eve, have some of that. But one thing that I'll just share kind of works for me as I kind of think about the upcoming year is looking back at this last year, 2023, looking back at this last year and kind of really focusing and reflecting and meditating on all of the positive aspects of the year that I was able to kind of get to experience and kind of navigate that I didn't know were coming my way. Let's see, New Year's Eve 2022, because I remember being back New Year's Eve 2022, looking at 2023, being like, well, I have all these plans, I have all these expectations, but I don't really know what's going on. Actually, I remember the beginning of 2023, as I stepped into 2023 from 2022, I was battling with a lot of anxiety. Like I had so much anxiety at the beginning of 2023, especially that first month, that I had like a real like emotional breakdown on my birthday, which is January. So the January of 2023, I had like a real emotional breakdown. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. My girls are getting older, but I still drive a piece of crap car and my finances are like this and I'm not married. I was just like, it all hit me because I turned 33 this past, no, wait, what year is it? Yeah, I don't even know anymore. I turned 33 in 2023, and I was like, what have I done? I didn't make the Forbes 30 under 30 list. My life is trash and all this stuff. But now that I'm able to look back at the whole year of 2023, I do see that I was able to accomplish a lot of great stuff. I stepped into a legit 9-to-5 job that I was able to secure. It's great. I actually really like it. Benefits, good pay. It's a stable, like real big boy job. I was able to step into that. I should have brought him over for this segment, but he's in my room sleeping. But I got the cutest little French bulldog puppy, and we were able to adopt him and bring him into our home. And I've always wanted a French bulldog puppy for a long, long time, but I was like, I'm never going to be able to afford one of these. They're not cheap if you get like a legit purebred French bulldog. Yeah, pretty penny right there. But through just a crazy cool story, I was able to adopt one for way cheaper than what they normally go for. So he's great. We love you, Zeus. Again, he's in my room sleeping, hopefully not pooping in my room, but I'm just going to think the best of him right now. My girls were able to get into this legit little private charter school in town this year that they love and they have a lot of friends at and they're doing well at, and they don't wake up crying and complaining about the fact that they have to go to school every day about. So they're pretty pumped about where they're at and they're thriving there. And I've talked about this so much on this podcast, but you all know, like, I got a new car. Like, if you know the story of my old car from last year, go back to listen to some of those episodes, especially the ones closer to the summer. Oh man, I went through a battle with my old piece of crap car last year. Holy shit. But the end of 2023, I was able to literally watch somebody haul that crappy car away. I waved goodbye. Actually, I stuck up my middle fingers and I said, never want to see you again. Thanks for nothing. Thanks for the headaches. Thanks for the tears. So dramatic. But watched somebody haul it away. And then I was able to look over at this brand new legit car I was able to secure at the end of the year that is so smooth. It's reliable. We got the heated seats. I don't have to, say my prayers every time I go to start it. It starts up. It's awesome. So those are just 4 things. Like, was able to get a good job, was able to get my dream dog, was able to get my girls into a legit school, and was able to get a reliable car. I know those are just 4 things. I'm sure like there's a lot of other really cool stuff I can think back to from 2023 as well. But I was able to stop and be like, you know what? Even if I just focus on those 4 things, I didn't know any of those 4 things were coming at the end of 2022. I didn't know I was going to get that job. I had no idea who my dog was. We didn't know if we were going to get our kids into that school, and I had no idea I was going to even be able to get a new car. But all those things happen. And so when I look at the year coming up, 2024, yeah, you could apply that same logic and be like, well, like a lot of crazy and a lot of hard stuff can be coming too, but we don't know, right? We talked about assumptions a few times on the show already, but I just don't know what's coming 2024. There could be a lot of cool opportunities and experiences and people yet coming my way that I just simply don't know about. And for me, that kind of makes the idea of a brand new year super exciting. The aspect that we just don't know what's coming. That can be really scary for a lot of us, and I get that, but also can be pretty thrilling knowing that, hey, this time next year, I could sit here with you all and talk about all these sweet things that went down that I had no idea were about to show up. So I kind of just want to throw that encouragement out to you. Like, maybe switch your thinking into the positive aspect of stepping into a brand new year and think about the fact that, hey, you don't know what's coming up. It could be big. It could be something legit. It could be something new. It could be something exciting. It could be something financially beneficial. It could be a new romance. It could be a new opportunity. You just don't know. This is why every day you can just get out of bed with your head held high and just remember that as long as you're doing the best that you can with yourself and with your kids, you never know what's around the corner. This has been another episode of the Single Parents Podcast. Thank you all for tuning in. My name's Anthony. And until next time, you all out there, just stay beautiful. Bye.